Good morning, third grade. This is Miss Martinez. We are going to do our first mini ELA lesson of the week. So today is Monday, and we're going to start off with a new reading. We're going to be reading The Squirrel and the Crow. So today what we're going to do is we're going to read and annotate, or we're going to take notes on the story as we read it, and then we will be looking at two different short response questions that you're going to do some writing with. So all you need is your brain, your pencil, and a piece of paper. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to look at the directions up top, and it basically just says to read the passage and then answer the questions that follow. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do just that. So our title again is The Squirrel and the Crow. This is an Indian folk tale, and it was retold by Reena I. Puri. So if you do not know what a folk tale is a really old story that has been passed on and told by many, many people. And it was first told verbally. So it wasn't written down and it wasn't told like that. It was actually just told and passed on word for word. Folk tales, though, are usually not true. And I think we will all agree at the end of this that we know that this didn't actually happen, that this is not nonfiction. This didn't actually happen. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. We are going to pause at different times to talk about the text or to make sure we jot something down, okay? So make sure you are following along and you are paying attention. This is one of my favorite stories, so I love it. All right, here we go. The Squirrel and the Crow. Once upon a time, a crow and a squirrel owned a field. So now I'm going to pause real quick. Remember that when we are taking our notes, we want to be looking out for all those really key details, those important things. We might want to be looking out for characters, for our setting, for our problem, for solutions, for any key details, character reactions, or descriptions. So already, I know that there's a crow and there's a squirrel. So I'm going to put a little C for character above both of those so I can easily remember that those are my two characters. And I know that they must be at a field. So that's my setting right now. We're in a field. We're not in Antarctica. All right, let's go ahead and let's keep reading. They agreed to work the field together. The crow built his nest in a tree near the field. The squirrel made her home in the trunk of the same tree. Now, if I look right below this, I see a nice little illustration here. And I can see that here's my squirrel and here's my crow. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to write squirrel right here and crow right here, just so I can remember that those are the two characters that I'm looking at, a squirrel and a crow. And I know that he is a boy and this one's a girl, because it said his and then. All right. And if I look at this illustration, I want to be looking for any clues, any important details that the illustration might be trying to tell me. So if I look here, I see that the squirrel, she's smiling. She seems to be getting ready to do something. And if I look over closely at the crow, looks like he's taken a nap. So that's interesting. So I want to keep that in mind when I'm reading the rest of the story, because remember, illustrations can tell us really important things about the rest of the story and the rest of the text. So always keep that in mind. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep reading. It says, one day the squirrel called out to the crow, "Come, brother crow, it is time to plow the fields." The crow was lazy. He stretched his left wing and his left leg, then said, "Sister dear, do go ahead. I will follow soon. I'll eat this piece of buttered bread and be with you by noon." I'm going to pause real quick. So I have a character description here. It tells me that the crow was lazy. So I'm going to put a little star next to that. Can you tell me what the word lazy means? What do you think the word lazy means? Can you go and act out a way you can be lazy right now? 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Excellent. If you were just lying around, not doing anything, then exactly right. That's lazy. And I see right here This kind of goes with the illustration. He's not really doing anything, so we might describe him here as being lazy. All right, let's keep reading. It says, the squirrel plowed the field all day. Meanwhile, the crow enjoyed the cool breeze that blew through the tree. So the squirrel was plowing all day, and he enjoyed the nice cool breeze. So they're definitely not doing the same thing here. Let's go ahead and keep reading. A few days later, the squirrel called out to the crow, "Come, brother crow, it's time to plant the seeds." The crow opened one eye and said, "Sister dear, do go ahead. I will follow soon. I'll eat this piece of buttered bread and be with you by noon." All right, so now it's time to plant the seeds. But instead, the crow is saying the exact same thing that he did before. He's going to eat his bread, and he'll be with her by noon. But do we really think that he's going to be there? No, I don't think so either. Let's keep reading. The little squirrel planted seeds all by herself while the crow lay back watching the clouds. So once again, the little squirrel did all the work. She planted the seeds, and the crow just watched the clouds. Rain fell, and before long, all the seeds had sprouted. That's a big word there, sprouted. Well, if I think about what I know about the seeds and what happens after it's gotten water, what do you think sprouted means? What do you think that means? Go ahead and think about that. All right, let's keep going. The squirrel called out to the crow once again, "Come, brother crow, it is time to hoe the weeds." So again, you might not know exactly what hoe means, but we're just going to assume here that if they have all the seeds and weeds are things that you do not want your plants to have. You don't want them to have weeds, so maybe we're going to get rid of them. The crow slowly stretched his right wing and his right leg, then yawned. "Sister dear, do go ahead. I will follow soon. I'll eat this piece of buttered bread and be with you by noon." So the crow is just saying the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and make a little note of that. Crow is saying the same thing every time. The squirrel chopped down the weeds by herself. So the squirrel is doing all of the work. The days passed. The sun shone brightly and helped the little plants grow big and strong. Before long, every stalk had fat ears of wheat. So we might not know some of these words here, but we can use our context clues, what we know about the story, to help us figure that out. "Come, brother crow," called the squirrel. "It's time to harvest the grain." The crow settled himself in his nest, then said as usual, "Sister dear, do go ahead. I will follow soon. I'll eat this piece of buttered bread and be with you by noon." So now it's time to harvest the grain. And the crow is just settling himself in. He's getting nice and a little cozy. And like we said, usual, because he says it every time, this is what he says to her. The squirrel cut down the wheat. Then she separated the grains of wheat from the stems and husks. Not sure if I know that word. Soon there were piles of golden grain waiting to be put into sacks. The squirrel mopped her brow with her bushy tail and called to the crow, "Come, brother crow, help me load the grain onto the cart and take it to the market." Do we think that the crow is going to do that? No, I don't think so either. Let's find out as we turn the page. The crow scratched his head with his foot, then answered, "Sister dear, do go ahead. I will follow soon. I'll eat this piece of buttered bread and be with you by noon." Now I see I have another illustration here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a little sneak peek at that. So if I see here, I see the crow and the squirrel once more. And if I look really, really closely at this crow, I'm going to zoom in here. Looks like he's laying back and I see something in his hand. And based on what I know that he's been doing, I'm going to guess that that is the buttered bread. Looks like a little piece of bread with some yummy butter on top. So he's just relaxing. While the squirrel down here, she looks like she's doing a lot of the work, right? And we know that from the story. We're almost there. Let's keep going. The squirrel took the grain to the market. It was very good grain, and she sold it for a very good price. So all of her hard work paid off because she got to sell it for some good money. She came home with a big silken bag jingling with money. The crow heard the sound of the money and sat up. I want us to pause here for a second. So she comes home with a big bag filled with money, right? And then the crow heard this sound and he sat up. We know that the crow has been kind of lazy and just sitting back the entire time. Why do you think he suddenly sat up when he heard the sound of the money? Go ahead and take 30 seconds of think time. All right, did you think about that? Because I think this is going to be really important as we continue. Come, Sister Squirrel, he called greedily. Okay, so now this is the crow talking, and they're describing it as being greedily. What do you think the word greedily means? If somebody's greedy, think about that. Let us count and divide the money so I can take my share. The little squirrel dropped the bag into her nest and turned to the crow. Smiling her sweetest smile, she said, Brother Crow, there is no share for lazy birds like you. When all your buttered bread is gone, you'll wish you had worked too. So what is the squirrel saying here? What is she saying? There's no share for lazy birds like you. When all your buttered bread is gone, that's what he has been eating the whole time. You're going to wish you had worked too. The squirrel flicked her tail and vanished into her nest. The crow sat on his branch feeling very silly. So I want you to take a minute here and I want you to just think about what we read. We read about the squirrel and the crow. I want you to think about, how is the squirrel different from the crow? How are they different from each other? Because they are definitely different. Think about that. When you have that in your mind, we're going to go ahead and we are going to do 2 short response questions. So go ahead and get out your pencil and your paper, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at them right now. Sentence from paragraph 7. The little squirrel planted seeds all by herself while the crow lay back watching the clouds. And here's going to be our question. What do the actions of the 2 characters show about what they are like? How does this sentence emphasize how different they are? Use specific details from the passage to support your answer. So the first thing that we should be doing is writing rad somewhere on our paper to the side. So go ahead and just write rad anywhere on the side, anywhere that you can see it. That's going to be a good reminder for you to make sure you have all the important details and components that you need to answer your question. Restate, answer, detail, detail. Always remember that you have to have those in. So we have 2 questions that we have to answer. You were just thinking about how the characters are different from each other. So you're going to use that to answer this question. What do you notice about how the squirrel is acting and how the crow is acting. How are they different, and what does that tell you about them? What does that tell you about the squirrel, and what does that tell you about the crow? So you're going to go ahead and you're going to pause this video, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to answer that right now. Pause the video and answer the question, ladies. All right, so the only reason that you should be back on this video is that you are completely done answering this question. Correct, ladies? All right, ladies, this is the last question for the day that we're going to look at. We're going to look at number 12 up here. It says, at the end of the story, the crow asks for his share of the money. Why does the squirrel not share the money with the crow? Use at least 2 details from the story to support your answer. So at the end, the crow asks for his share of the money. Why does the squirrel not share the money with the crow? And you have to use at least 2 details, but we always know that. So go ahead and write your rad to the side here. That is your good little checklist. Go ahead and pause this video, and you're going to go ahead and answer this completely on your own. So go ahead and pause it now and get started. All right, if you're back and you have unpaused the video, you must be done. So your answer could look different from mine. Always remember that. But I'm going to give you an example answer that I think is a nice, solid answer here, okay? So I'm going to start with my restate here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, the squirrel does share the money or does not? Does not, right? So the squirrel does not share the money with who? Who does she not share the money with? The crow, right? So the squirrel does not share the money with the crow because. So this is my restate right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check off my R because now I have a restate. I need to answer it though. Why did the squirrel not share the money with the crow? Did he deserve it? Did he earn that money? Did he do the work? No. So I'm going to say because the crow did not deserve it. The crow did not earn that money. He didn't deserve it. Excellent. So now I have to prove my answer. I can't just say that and say, yep, I'm right. I have to prove it. So I need details from the text. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started, but I need to check off my A because I did that. So one, that's a nice little opener for your sentence. One reason why the crow didn't deserve the money is, and now I have to say, well, the crow didn't do any of the work, right? So is because he didn't do any of the work. Instead, and I am taking this directly from the text, ladies. I went back and I saw that it said he enjoyed the cool breeze. That was one of the things it said. So I'm going to put that directly in here. So I'm going to say, but instead enjoyed the cool breeze. Directly from the text. That is one solid detail to prove that he did deserve the money. So I'm going to go ahead and give my D a nice little check. I need one more though. I still need to add another one. So I'm going to say the text also says. Now I need another thing. How did the text describe the crow? What was that key word again? He was lazy, right? So I'm going to put that in. The text also says the crow was lazy. That's a big one there. and that he didn't do any of the work, but the squirrel did. So I'm going to make sure that I know that the squirrel did the work. Well, the squirrel did all the work. And I could list so many times that the squirrel did all the work, right? She did all the work. There's my second detail, because I'm telling you that the crow was lazy and the squirrel did all the work.